Welcome to the Fit Bridge, a podcast connecting you to conversations that help bridge you to success within the health and fitness industry. Hi, friends. I'm your host, RC Hahn. And before we get started on today's episode of the Fit Bridge podcast, you're going to want to grab a pen and paper because our guest, Nasario Mejia, is dropping knowledge left and right throughout the entire episode, and I guarantee you're going to want to take notes. Nasario is the current COO of TRX and has over 25 years experience in leadership. He also has 18 years of experience within multi-unit management within sales and fitness. I mean, he truly is this epitome of operational excellence. So early on in the conversation, I do us all a favor and I ask the question on everyone's mind, is Nasario a superhuman? He confirms that he actually has the same 24 hours a day as the rest of us. I'm still skeptical, but at least he kindly provides a lot of tips and tricks on how to balance and juggle all of these hats and these roles within his life. I asked the question of, why would you decide to go back and obtain even further formal education as he just received his second master's degree while being the COO of an international company, having a thriving relationship and personal life and getting his workouts in. It's truly an inspiration and incredible, but I'm grateful for the wisdom he shares on how all of us can find balance and achieve success in multiple dimensions of our life. He provides a really unique strategy on how to absorb information more efficiently. I've been applying that. Thank you for that tip and trick. And then additionally, he shares his favorite apps and organizational softwares and tools that he uses on a daily basis. You're definitely going to want to write those down because those are a hack, a simple hack to success and kind of working smarter and not harder. One of my favorite portions of our conversation is when he chats about mentorship and relationships and the importance that it plays in one's life in general, very specifically around your career. He also shares a script on his exact strategy that he used on how to acquire these mentors and impacts that he's had in his life. I'm grateful for the conversation. I appreciate the wisdom, and I hope that it genuinely impacts your life as well. So let's dive in and get started. Hello, Nasario. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us on the FitBridge podcast today. How's your day going so far?
It's great. Yeah. Thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to spending some time with you today.
Yeah, I know this is going to be an absolutely delightful conversation. I want to start by saying congratulations. I think that's in order. You just obtained your second master's degree. Incredibly impressive. So congratulations on that. I hope you celebrated. Are you celebrating? How does one celebrate getting their second master's?
You know what? Sleeping in.
I bet. Yeah. Well deserved.
A lot of sleep is the best way to kind of celebrate that. But yeah, I'm excited. Thank you for calling that out. It's been an amazing journey, and it's been transformational, to be honest with you. I didn't expect to ultimately get as much as I did out of this program, but it has been really good.
Yeah. And I want to start there. I mean, why does someone like yourself, right, that is at a very high level, have achieved incredible career success thus far already? What was that decision? Why does one continue their education? What made you want to go and get that second, master's?
Well, it's a couple of reasons. And, I'll tell you a funny story that I think I may have told you before. I've always have done something, obviously I did my bachelor's at Sonoma State University. I got a bachelor's in business and one in Spanish. And I was doing martial arts at the time. So I was always taking some sort of certification, and being in the fitness industry, obviously you're always renewing those. And I had an old martial arts instructor, a sensei that I had for almost 20 years, actually. I took classes from, he used to make this joke. He's like, you have more degrees than a thermometer. And I just could not stop laughing. And it was like, for me, it's always been a passion. It's not about collecting trophies for me or having, I don't put any of my degrees or certifications on the walls in my office.
Well, I don't think there's enough wall space. First of all, I don't think the square footage allows, but go ahead, continue.
But so got my bachelor's degree, was out working. I started 24 Hour Fitness, was working for them for a while. Got the itch to go back formally and go to school, and I decided actually to do a master's in exercise physiology since I had the business, undergraduate degree. And at the time, people were saying, "Hey, you already have the bachelor's in business. The MBA is typically for people that have like say an exercise science bachelor's and want to reinforce that with a business degree as they grow into positions." So yeah, I decided to do that back in like 2007. It was an awesome program. It was also a program that was a pilot program that was in partnership with NASM. So NASM had some curriculum in this program as well, and that actually tied right into what I was doing at the time, which was I was district manager, managing the personal training departments at 24 Hour Fitness. So part of it's always been, to reinforce what I'm doing, to enrich what I'm doing for myself, and then also for the people that work with me. Most recently, though, I decided to go back to school, as you know, a couple of years ago at USC, Marshall School of Business, and I've always had this itch to get my MBA, even back when I first graduated with my bachelor's in business. And it was just the time. The time was right. Through my career, I've been in very technical positions. I've been in general management type positions, and I've had some executive positions as well too. But I felt that this degree would actually help reinforce what I'm doing as of late, which is to focus on the back end of the businesses that we're working with.
Yeah, well, again, truly impressive. I go ahead and tell myself this lie that you're not a human to make myself feel better when I come up with the I don't have time excuse. Because
Mm.
I know Nasario's over here. You're, COO of a massive international company. You're operating that on a daily level. You're, having a healthy relationship as a husband. You're having, I'm sure, a social life out there. You're getting your exercise in. You're going back. You're in school. I'm like, how do you have the time? Please, Nasario, share with all of us, what is that trick? How does one remain focused? How does one find balance in juggling all of these roles and responsibilities and, goals that you have? How does one do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would be lying to say that I was superhuman. I could do all this myself, but the
Oh, I
reality
just
is
lost a bet, man. I really had money on it that you were some type of like alien that could like stop time and you had more than 24 hours. So I
I do
lost
sleep.
money,
I
but
do sleep very little, but when I do sleep, I'm like in deep sleep. So one of the tricks obviously is not sleeping, your typical 7 or 8 hours like most people sleep. So I have that extra time. But honestly, the truth of the matter is, even going back to school to get my MBA, I wouldn't have been able to do that without the support of my wife. And I know everybody likes to say I like to support my, I like to thank my wife and my kids and my parents. But the reality is I literally could have not have done this without the support that she's been giving me. I mean, it was honestly, the MBA came at a time where I probably had more responsibility with work than I've ever had, not just in the amount of work, but the type of work I was doing. So she's been super supportive, and we kind of laugh sometimes. I'll be in there doing homework on a Saturday and watching videos, reading cases, and I'm in an office literally for 8 hours, and she'll be coming in like, with plates of food, dropping them off. Once I eat, she takes the plates. It's literally like a system that we have where she's been super helpful. So that's really not just with school. That's actually with work too. I've always had demanding jobs from when I was at 24 Hour Fitness to Crunch, and she's always been super supportive in terms of allowing me to have the freedom to be able to, to have some of the dedication I've had with some of these businesses and with education, but B, also contributing to that. Like, we kind of laugh sometimes, like, she's really good with grammar and even just creating content. She's got a bachelor master's in biology, so not business related at all, but she would proofread all my papers. And we would joke sometimes because when I'm waiting for the grade, she would say, "Hey, what grade did we get?" Because she was so involved with. Now, just in case any of my professors are listening to this, I wrote the papers. She just proofread them and obviously help really tighten them up, because she's really good with that. So I thought it's been a very collaborative experience, I think, with any of the degrees that I've gotten, that she's been super supportive with.
Oh, I love that. I think that's where the kids, we say hashtag power couple. You guys are
Yeah.
achieving that couple goals vision there. I want to pause there for a second, if you could, because I think that's will resonate with a lot of individuals that we all have these busy lives. What does support look like, from your spouse or from your friends? How does one achieve that. So, if I were in this situation and I have a partner that is, aggressively going after one of their ambitions or, vice versa, being able to communicate that, what do you think is important? What does that look and feel like to truly support someone that has such big goals?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it, it's a shared goal, right? Regardless of who's getting who the end result is for is the degree for me, and she obviously got her master's in biology as well too. So there's give and take on both sides. Whenever one of the individuals in the couple wants to pursue something, I think it's first and foremost is supporting each other. I think that that's the biggest piece of it is the end result of hopefully all this education and study and will ultimately hopefully make me more efficient and better at what I do at work, which gives me more freedom, at home as well too, because the less time I spend trying to figure it out, quote unquote, because I do have this formal education, the more time I'm able to give back. We've always been that way where we've always been super busy, as individuals as well. And we've always accepted the fact that we like being busy, right? We don't watch a ton of TV. We don't do a lot of like the typical things people just do to kind of burn time. So we've always said, whatever time we do have, we turn the phones off, we focus on what we're doing, we focus on spending time with each other. And we've just have always been that way since we were, in our 20s. It's like it's about quality time. It's not about the amount of time that you're spending with people. So that's been super helpful to be completely aligned. I think that that's a big piece of it is being aligned. Most people think I'm super social, but I'm actually not. I wouldn't say I'm antisocial, but I keep my friend circle pretty tight just because A, I don't really have a ton of time, and B, I just have always been that way since I was a little kid. So the friend side of it makes it really easy. I have friends that I've known for 35, plus years that know I'm in school, and they just know that the last 2 years they're probably going to see me maybe 3 times a year versus 5 or 6 times a year. So I think having friends that really understand what you're trying to pursue and what you're trying to do to improve yourself, that actually helps significantly too. So again, I come back to, when you hear these things about people doing multiple degrees and having these demanding jobs, it really oftentimes what's overlooked is the support structure and the support system that people have to be
Mhm.
able to do those things. And honestly, I'm not just saying this because it's the right thing to say, with one of these questions. It's like I wouldn't be able to do these things if it wasn't for my friends, my wife, and my family, especially too. That helps me with supporting me.
Yeah, well, I think that's big. I'm grateful that you have that. And I hope that others could, take that and apply it as well, whether they're the ones showing the support or making sure that their circle genuinely does, believe, like you said, in that same mission of where that person is going. I'm going to be transparent with you here, my man. I don't have any plans on going and getting my MBA. So I'm going to need you to please provide like the cliff notes. If you could compact everything that you've taken, I know that's a lot, but condense it down into just a cliff notes for some action items for those of us. What what do you have for us? What can we apply that you took from
Yeah,
all of those accolades?
this is an easy one to answer simply because I just wrote a reflection paper on the experience that I had to turn in. And really honestly, like I went to it with like, yeah, I have 20 plus years in business. Cool. I'll check the box. I'll tighten up a couple things and I'll be out and with my degree. But I was really wrong when going into it, how difficult it would be. First of all, how much I would get out of it. And I really wrote kind of three things here. It's really how to consume content is what I took out of it.
Hmm.
And I think it's going to help me in anything I do, whether it's personal, reading or study or problem solving. And really what I learned, because USC is about case-based learning. So everything you do is designed around real life cases, whether they're previous problems that a company had like Google or Facebook or General Electric or whatever, or if it's a current company where you have a speaker come in and they talk to you about the challenges. So what I learned is the biggest thing I took away is how do you consume content, right? They kind of taught us like read it 3 times, read to understand, then you read it to internalize it, and then you read it to solve. It sounds like a lot, having to read something 3 times, and some people can read a lot faster than others. I'm not one of those that reads very fast. But I think that's what I took is run through something where it doesn't even have to be a case. It could be a scenario. Run through it so you understand the facts, then run through it again so you can at least internalize those facts, and then how are you going to apply your analytical and problem solving skills to solving that, because that's all it is, right? Anything we do in business, whether it's selling TRX straps or personal training when I was at Crunch or memberships when I was at 24 Hour Fitness. It's every day you're going to come up with some new challenge. And I think that that's what I took the most out of it, is just like systematically going through. It's almost like in sports, right? Like you have a quarterback that always has their first read, their second read, and then finally they dump the ball on where they need to get it. So I think that that's one of the things I took the most out of it.
Yes, I love that. I definitely will start applying that because I am guilty. You wouldn't have had said that. I'm definitely a quick grader, first time reader, try and figure it all out in that first shot. So applying kind of that rule of three in those three different directions, I foresee being helpful. What's next for you? Is there anything on the box that you haven't checked off yet? Where are Nasario's personal, professional goals? What can we celebrate in the near future that you have your eyes on?
Well, personally, I'm always looking to spend more time with family, right? And I think just with the pandemic, we were ultra conservative. We didn't travel a lot, so I would like to get back to at least once a year going somewhere cool and different. So personally, we like to plan, my wife and I, a trip very soon. Two of our favorite places is Costa Rica, and then the other is Spain. Obviously two different worlds, but we'd like to get back there here in probably the next 6 to 12 months. So that's really one of our biggest goals, is just to be able to spend some more time, together. And then also, I think just like anything, just be healthier. I think personally, right? I think, you're in the fitness industry, and, part of it, being in the fitness industry is eating right, managing stress, and, being able to have balance. Professionally, look, I love to say I'm not going to get another degree because I want to live up to my old sensei's expectations of this thermometer theory. I'd love to pursue a PhD or a doctorate degree. To be honest with you, I think that, at that level, that degree is more about research, so you can really kind of customize it around your lifestyle. With my MBA being 2 years and it's set in stone, and this is what you take, you kind of have to go at the pace that the university sends you. But I think I would definitely, from a personal standpoint, also, and professional, I guess, because it ties in, is pursue a doctorate degree, but at my own pace this time versus this 2 year shotgun approach that I've been in the last couple of years.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to see you achieve both of those things. Mainly the one I want to see all the tropical photos and the pictures. I really am looking forward to that vacation for you. I'm sure that is much needed
Thank you.
for all of us coming out of that pandemic, and especially yourself. It's really been buckled down, and focused on checking those tasks off and achieving those goals. So I hope it's a long, fun vacation for you and the missus. Walk us through the daily life of a COO, right? What does that look like? How does that operate? What might someone from the outside perceive that to be? And what is it really? And then additionally, what kind of attributes do you feel are necessary for somebody who wants to fill a role such as a COO?
You know what? If you figured out that answer, I'd like to know it, because I still haven't. I mean, I
I'll
can give
keep
you
asking. Yeah, all right, audience, prepare to
the.
hear this question 50 more times from
uh,
everyone that's on the show.
yeah, no, I mean, look, the kind of like the academic definition of COO is, somebody that helps and operates the business, holistically across all channels, and works with different executive groups to get initiatives pushed through. Also, you'll also commonly see this described as a CEO focuses on strategy and long-term initiatives, and the COO helps implement those daily, monthly, weekly, monthly, and so on and so forth. So it's really more the execution side of what a CEO does. So it's helping support that and helping support other executives. And as you commonly see, if you were to Google CEO job description, you'll see words like integrator. You'll see actually like statements like keeps the trains moving. That's pretty common, and a lot of it is just working cross-functionally. It really depends on what type of organization you're in, right? So you're in a technology company, there's no supply chain involved in that and manufacturing product. So specific to TRX, it's exactly that, helping sales, marketing, finance, HR work together, project manage, some initiatives and get them across the finish line, connect the dots for resources. And then also too, us being a organization that manufactures physical product, in addition to us launching a lot of these digital initiatives last year and the year before, is we're also trying to solve what everybody's trying to solve in the world today, is how do you solve all these issues that COVID has created? which kind of comes back to, one of the reasons I did go back to school at this point in time is I figured in business school, you would learn how to overcome these challenges that are caused by a life-changing event like the pandemic. So a lot of it is about, project management, managing, coordinating. Ties into your question in terms of like, what is the skill set? Organization obviously is one that's big. To be honest with you, like everybody thinks I'm super organized, but I'm actually pretty disorganized. I just fight really hard every day to keep on top of that. And I got to give a shout out to William Coker. And this is something that I took from him in our stint at Crunch is he had every app and every tool and every software that helped coordinate his time and his schedule. And he integrated it so well. And he had his iPhone with his iPad, his MacBook, everything was so tied in. That to me is like a great quality of a COO is, can you have multiple streams of communication and fold them into one line of communication and get that out to the group that needs to accomplish those things. So that's actually something that I took specifically from William when I was at Crunch, because it does come down to that, is being organized and then having the ability to juggle different projects and manage your time or manage your schedule. Because I don't really believe in time management per se. It really just comes down, how do you execute your schedule?
Do you have a couple favorite apps or softwares that you use for organization that you found to be most helpful that we could go and download or use in our inboxes? Or
I love Evernote, which it's a recommendation from William. So there's a lot of things you can do to integrate your Evernote, in terms of capturing different, you can do images off a website, you can handwrite a note, snap it in there. So Evernote's probably my primary go-to in terms of organization. I also have apps like iPassword, I think it's called, where it stores all your encrypted passwords. So, we have so many tools. Everybody has, Uber accounts and all these other accounts. So you're forgetting your passwords. It takes forever to reset. So having something that captures your passwords, I think it's a great one. And honestly, this is one that I used for school that I thought was really great. Was one called Speechify, two actually. One called Speechify, which allows you to download PDFs and documents and it'll read it back to you. So it kind of went back to helping me with the reading everything 3 times. Typically I would read it, then listen to it a second time, and then either listen to it a third time or read it again so I can take the notes on how to solve these things. And then look, Grammarly, like when I don't have my wife helping me.
Yeah, that's a big one. Shout out. Thank you, Grammarly.
Grammarly's honestly has been great because it helps organize your thoughts on your communication to your team and other teams. And that if you can communicate well, I think that solves a lot of issues that a lot of organizations have.
Absolutely. I think my favorite feature on Grammarly is when it tells you the overarching like tone of your email or what you composed. Because I know for like personal experience, if somebody hasn't met me, like I've received coaching early on in my career, like it's like I sound like a bitch in my email. Like, but if you haven't met me, you know that,
Yeah.
I meant that with, great heart. I'm just kind of assertive and direct.
Yeah.
But like, okay, I'm like, okay, let me throw a different word in there until that little emoji in the corner gives me the tone, because that individual might not have had met me or understand how I'm trying to communicate that tone without seeing my face or hearing my
Yeah.
voice. Yeah, big ones. Any other additional apps? I definitely want to get that Speechify one. I'm excited to try that one. Any others in your kind of toolbox of apps or softwares that you enjoy?
No, I mean, I think just having access to any documents that you may have. I mean, I love Slack because Slack's, in my opinion, is going to replace email. Having Slack for team communication, there's a lot of things you can do with it. Attachments, share, have external parties outside your company be part of certain Slack channels. Obviously, I love Google Drive. That's another one William Coker, turned me on to. Having the Google Drive app to be able to review production reports and sales reports when you're traveling or you're doing different things. I think the ability to access information, a lot of these tools like Gmail and Outlook have the app version of it where you can really just grab it wherever you can. Not a tool, not a software or a program. Another thing that William turned me on to was the little Wi-Fi, cards, little hockey pucks we used to call them, where you can literally drop that if you're on the beach or in a restaurant, and you can have Wi-Fi and kind of get work done wherever. So to me, it's like people use the word work-life balance, and I'll take this from credit our old CEO at Crunch, Keith Wards. He used to have a term called work-life integration. And I don't know if he made this up or he read it somewhere, but his idea was like, look, sometimes Saturday morning you may have to send a couple emails off, then go enjoy the day with your family. Sometimes during the week you may have to do a dentist appointment at 10 o'clock in the morning because that's the only time you do it. So he had this really great, approach to creating that balance that everybody tries to seek, which I personally don't think exists. But if you can create an integration where you have enough time to do the important things with your family and your friends, but you're getting your work done, I think ultimately that's where a lot of people kind of give off this perception that they get a lot done. It's just they just get the most important things done. And I think that's really key advice that I got in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I always appreciate, companies or leadership that I've been able to work for that embrace that concept and don't come with just a super rigid schedule or cadence on what needs to happen in that day. They just really empower you to say, hey, just get it done. And if that means whatever that time is, whether that's a Saturday or, in the evening after 5 p.m., because, maybe I want to take my workout break at lunchtime. Now, you selected three awesome words for our fiber foundations moment. One of them you've already used, which was overcome. So, I want us to elaborate on those a bit. You selected adapt, improvise, and overcome. Unpack those three words for us and why they are, pillars and links to achieving success.
Well, again, I won't credit myself for that. This will be Anthony Crisco, who was a former regional manager of mine and a really close friend to this day. And this was he told me this the first day I got promoted on my first day of work when I was at 24 Hour Fitness. I was a personal training assistant manager at 24 Hour Fitness in Santa Rosa. I got promoted to be the fitness manager of Larkspur. I can't remember the year, it's 2001 or two, somewhere around there. And my first day there, and back then there wasn't a lot of training and development protocols and programs and coaching reports like a lot of these gyms have nowadays. But first day in, the top two trainers decide they want to quit because they love their old manager and their old manager's gone, and you know how that whole story goes. And back then I was a lot. I had a much harder management style than I do now. I've softened up significantly. So I had a significant amount of the staff quit in like the first day or two, and he came in and I was complaining and saying all these things that probably weren't very nice things about the team and this and the former manager. And so what ended up happening is he said, okay, how are you gonna fix it? And I wasn't prepared for that because I'm usually, my assumption would be is you have this person that's there to help you that they're going to say, okay, here's what you need to do. And over time he did that, but I thought it was awesome. And he used to use those terms. Well, the first thing you got to do is you got to adapt to whatever happens. So people quit all the time, and members are upset at you. There's a fire alarm that goes off. The pool is contaminated. Somebody gets smacked in the face with a piece of equipment and breaks their nose. First thing you do is you can't panic. I mean, it has to get solved. So he's like, you got to adapt to the situation. So if your day is got this, really, consistent cadence, and all of a sudden something's thrown in there, you just have to stop and adapt to the new situation that you were given. Improvise is like, well, it's great to acknowledge that you're in trouble some way, but how are you going to, at least in the moment, react and fix the situation and overcome it, which is the last piece of it, right? And he used to say that all the time: adapt, improvise, and overcome. And honestly, that has stuck with me. So that was literally my first day as a quote unquote manager, managing people. Because even as an assistant manager back then, you were just the top salesperson. So those to me have stuck with me. And it's like, honestly, it's probably the best advice anyone's ever given me. It's like, hey, something's going to happen and you can expect it to happen every day. Adapt to it, figure out how to fix it, and then move on and overcome it. And then figure out ways also, which he was great at, figure out ways to ensure those things don't happen in the future. So I actually got your traditional coaching after that, but that to me, I think was the best thing anybody could have done.
Yeah, I think
Because I was ready to blame everybody else is the situation, right?
Yeah, definitely adaptability. I've seen as a constant thread, from high level leaders that, toss that out there that you have to be able, there's nothing more constant than change, right? You got to expect the unexpected at all times and be able to improvise and adapt in those scenarios. And like, as you mentioned as well, gracefully, right? We're not frantically adapting and freaking out. Like that doesn't help. How do we gracefully navigate through this and overcome these obstacles? And furthermore, as you said, be preventative on
Yeah.
that next time. Some things are out of our control, but to reflect on that moment that you had to pivot and say, okay, was this something that next time I could maybe avoid? or was this truly an unavoidable, right? When
Yeah.
you look at overcoming something, you've mentioned, you've dropped a lot of awesome names of, colleagues and peers and people. Is mentorship a big piece, of your journey? How do you feel about, do you still have mentors or people that you lean on for these mental collaborations? Or you mentioned your sensei, you mentioned a lot of people that have played impacts on your life. Talk to us about, mentorship.
Yeah, no, definitely. Look, that to me is the most critical thing I think anybody can do is to give back what they learned to somebody else and then help them teach it to another person and then another, and the chain works that way. I've always prided myself on really like working with people and helping them achieve, different career objectives. The goals are always going to get hit if you're doing those things to develop people. And like I'm no different. Like the success I've had is, I have a list here literally of probably 40 people that I love to give a shout out to. And I think it's just when you call someone mentor, I think they can be a friend, they can be a family member, they can be an employee. And then in your most traditional sense, it's typically your boss, right? So the people that have been really impactful for me was, and I have them right here, there's Vince Chung, which I met at 24 Hour Fitness. To this day, I'm great friends with him. There's Keith Warts, which I mentioned earlier. He was really, really good in a lot of ways. He had a really great way to I think the adapt, improvise, and overcome is like key to how he operated. Derek Gallup is another person that I've spent a lot of time with, which I consider a mentor. He's at UFC gym now. Anthony Crisco, he's got his own business, is living in Hawaii. There's a woman by the name of Louise Fridtjofsen, who was a tech founder, and I had a little stint as a contract CEO and helping turn around a company that she started. And that she was classic, Silicon Valley, pedigree. And that to me was a very interesting, kind of a diversion from fitness and what I was used to. So I learned a tremendous amount from her. Really, the four people I spent the most amount of time with, and it's not necessarily in order of importance, but obviously Mark Mastrov, everybody's credits him for all things fitness, right? I spent 20 years with New Evolution Ventures and, between 24 Hour Fitness, Crunch. And even when I left Crunch, I did some contract work overseas for NEV. Jim Rowley still at Crunch. He was my direct boss at some point at 24 Hour Fitness. He was, always involved in my direct line of reporting structure. And he's someone that I've learned a tremendous amount in terms of discipline. Like that's probably where I got a lot of what I consider like my discipline and just like being really strict with my schedule. My current boss, which is the founder of Equity 38, and it's a company that parent company of TRX, Brent Leffel, who spent some time with Mark and Jim at NEV. He has a classic investment banker, private equity background. I've learned a ton, especially during business school. And him, being, a Wharton grad himself, I've learned a lot how to think about a business more strategically. And look, I have to save this name for last because I think everybody in the fitness industry will say Neil Spruce is a mentor. I told you this story before. Like when I became a personal trainer at 24 Hour Fitness, day one of my 5-day personal training course, Neil Spruce gave this motivational speech and probably dropped an F-bomb every 2 or 3 words.
That's why we love Neil, though.
But he had such passion and emotion and intensity with the way he spoke. I literally said to a friend of mine who's no longer in the fitness industry, one day I'm going to speak with Neil Spruce on stage. And this was probably 5 or 6 years ago. We were invited to Steve Nash Fitness in Canada. A former colleague of ours, Chris Smith, invited us, and we did this trainer road show. And I actually got an opportunity, and I told that story. Actually, I got an opportunity to stand side by side with Neil. I've been to his house for the ranch experience. Neil's awesome, man. Every time you pick up the phone, his advice is always great. And, he really is an icon in the fitness industry. He's done a tremendous amount, in my opinion, and he's done it the right way, focused on, changing lives first. And then through that, yes, you can make great income. So I know that was a really long-winded answer, but to me, like that's the primary driver next to my family support. That's the primary driver of why I'm able to do some of these things, or I have been able to do some of these things.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for all those shout outs. And I know you have a mutual, mentor of Mr. Spruce there. I think what always, resonated with me the first time, I heard him speak, right, is that passion of that genuine care for the industry and what we stand for is, helping, and anything that he's done and built and operated is for that right reason of making people healthier and changing lives. but also, the humility that comes with, I'm sure, all of those names that you mentioned and drop that they are accessible. And I think, in my personal opinion, when I'm looking for a mentor or someone to, speak with or bounce ideas or receive feedback from is this an open space? Is this a transparent place where I can be vulnerable and show up and say, like, I don't know. That's why I'm talking to you. Like, please help me. Let me know, and because the sad reality is that I'm sure there's probably tons of people out there that would be great mentors, but they've removed themselves and segregated so far away from what I would call, myself, like a common folk, right? Like like I'm just a little far down on the ladder, but to still respond to those emails or take that phone call and to just provide that advice, I would definitely recommend and hope that, everyone out there in some place has a mentor. I love that you mentioned it doesn't have to be your supervisor or, even professionally. It could be that neighbor, that friend, it's just some type of confidant, someone that is equally doing things, making moves, movers and the shakers, that's enlightening themselves in some way and can, you can absorb that and vice versa. You know, I think both of us were fortunate enough to maybe have been in a room or been in a seat that allowed us to meet such individuals. Sounds like we both met Neil when he was up speaking one day. I know I jumped out of my seat. I was like 19 and I was like, that man, I need to shake his hand and like, I need to get that business card and tell him my name. Like, I need to know
Yeah.
you. But for those of whom might not be at that conference or working within that company, how does one find a mentor, or like, what do you look for? Where do you go? How do you decipher who might be a good mentor, who not? Like, how do people find these people?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think a big piece of it is you said it. It's who you work with and what you like that what they say. Do you like what they say? Do you believe in what they stand for? And this simply, it's literally just you said the exact same thing. When people ask that I always say is go shake their hand, give them the business card, give them your number, and just let them know you're going to reach out to them. I think that's the easiest. One of the things that actually was super helpful with me, and I named the people who I spend the most amount of time with, who I would say because of that have been the most impactful. But I've actually literally have gone on LinkedIn, just started looking through profiles, and I actually have 2 or 3 mentors to this day. When I did this 5, 6 years ago, I literally picked random people, CEO of a pharmaceuticals company, or head of sales for a nonprofit or whatever. So I went through and I sent out probably 100 emails in LinkedIn and literally just said, hey, I'm looking for a mentor. You don't know me. You don't know me anything. All I ask is for maybe an hour every 3 months. And I actually got like 20 responses. And from that, I think I booked like 10 actual first visits. I'm talking like a sales process here. I booked 10, conversations, if you want to call it that. And from that, 3 of those have stuck for the last 5 or 6 years. And it's people that didn't know me beforehand, didn't owe anything to me. But I think inherently people want to mentor others. I think that there's that, people always want to be able to pass on knowledge that they learn, especially really good people that just want to make an impact. And I think it's like, you don't know, there's the worst thing you're going to get is somebody's going to say, not interested or not respond to you at all.
Mhm.
But I'd say, yeah, first and foremost, I think, seek out the ones that are in your industry, because I think you're looking to probably get better at what you do in terms of career, et cetera. I think secondarily is, can you find someone that's not in your industry that can round out some of your skill set that maybe is not prevalent in that industry? So I think that's one of the best things that I think people can do is just start reaching out, especially with today with social media. I mean, you can hit people on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and I would recommend have a script professionally kind of like written that you took some time to write. You don't want to just start hitting people up and, because some people may take it the wrong way and just not acknowledge it at all.
So the hey, yo, man, you trying to help me out? That probably won't go over too well. I think you
Uh,
put it very eloquently. Rewind, take verbatim kind of what you said in that intro email, that you're looking for mentorship, say what it is you want to say, why you're in their inbox. And I also
yeah,
like to said, you owe me nothing. You don't know me from anything. I'm genuinely looking to grow. I see you have X, Y, and Z experience. These are my goals. Maybe here's how I was just hoping I could have a mentor. And yeah,
yep,
I think you'd hope that, I believe as an optimist and a positive mind person that, we make a living by what we get, but a life by what we give. And hopefully that mindset is instilled as somebody gets more. They really realize, how can I give more? And mentorship is a beautiful way to do that.
Yeah.
And it feels good. Like, even if there's somebody out here listening that you feel like, oh, you're not successful enough to mentor somebody else, I promise you, there is someone in some way in a different chain of their season of life that you could yourselves can mentor. And
Yeah.
that only empowers you as an individual as well to that's the best way to learn, right? Is it? I don't know. You'd be a better
It
person
is
to ask. They say
very
by
well
teaching
said.
is the way to learn.
Yeah.
So to kind of give back what you know. It's like, yeah, I'm always geeked out when somebody asks me a question and you're like, let me help you avoid
Yeah.
making the same mistake I
That's
made.
good.
Well, within that, speaking of making mistakes, what is something you wish you would have had known that you know now that you would go back, or if you're mentoring someone, what's that one thing that you really hone in on and is like, hey, this is what I wish I would have known. Here's the real secret sauce. What is that thing?
I'll make this quick, because if I listed out everything that I've done wrong, I mean, there's significantly more I've messed up than I got right. But as long as I've always learned, as long as your right
Fail
decisions,
forward.
your right decisions are 10 times more impactful than your bad decisions, it's okay to make bad decisions. But really, it's two things, actually. It's really quick. It's one, it's working more doesn't produce better results. It
Hmm.
really doesn't. It just produces more work. That's what I would love, 20 years ago, if I could go back in time, to tell myself, that is, working more hours doesn't produce better results. It just produces more work. If you're lucky, it produces more work. That's a lot better results as well too, but that's super rare. Science will show over and over that after 6 or 7 hours, most humans, regardless of who you are, you're absolutely useless. Right. So I think working more doesn't necessarily mean getting more productivity. It just means you're just putting in more hours. So I would have loved to go back in time and said, hey man, work 5 days a week, work your 8 hours, but from bell to bell, like, be super organized and get it done. Like, I would have saved myself a lot of time that I could have invested in other areas that I would have wanted to spend more time doing. And then I think just the last part of that too is I personally have always taken, making mistakes very hard. Nothing to do with it's not rooted in my childhood. My parents were always super supportive. And if I messed up, they always would pick me up and, put me in the right direction. But just, I've always been competitive that way. And, it took me a long time of making mistakes to realize that, like, it's all right. You just adapt, improvise, and overcome. That was a defining moment, but it did take a while for me to really internalize and say, like, hey, mistakes are totally fine. You're going to make them. Actually going to make more than, if you're not making mistakes, you're living life too conservatively, right? So as long as your wins are 10 times more impactful than your losses, you'll have a successful career. And that's what I would love to literally go back and just sit in front of myself and say those two things. I think that would probably, look, I have no regrets. I lived a great life. And I'm saying, I'm still going to continue to live a great life, hopefully for another 40 or 50 years, but I have zero regrets in my life, other than just being able to spend more time doing things that I didn't get the chance to do back then.
Mhm. So you're kind of saying that concept of busy doesn't equal productive
No.
with that first one. And yeah, that's good. That's good news. The next time somebody asks me to do more, I'm gonna be like, I don't know, man. After 6 hours, sorry, tell me.
Nasario said no
Nope,
more than 30.
fuck that here. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure all the big, fitness operators will be very happy to say work less, because the gyms is just, unfortunately, it's all hours of the day you got to be thinking about it, right? But yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, I think part of it is just organization.
Absolutely. Yeah. It goes back to some of those organization pieces. Get those apps, guys. Get the go download those, figure out how to work smarter, not harder. Big believer in that. And then take that time to rest. And also, what you mentioned, there's no such thing as failure. I know we've read all those different types of books, just lessons. Right. I love how you put that. Right. If you're living too conservatively, you got to make some mistakes. You got to try. And then you adapt, you improvise, you overcome, and you try again, try again. It's like, all right, you gotta put those risks out there in order to get that reward. So yeah, don't be afraid of failing, if that's even a word we want to use, or just don't be afraid of learning lessons and adapting and overcoming from those.
Yep. Yeah,
Love
100%.
it. Well, before we hop off here, is there anything that is just sitting on your heart or your mind that you want to make sure we share, or any exciting things that are happening in the life of TRX or Mr. Mejia?
Yeah, look, I'll do a little TRX plug. You know,
Plug us out. Let us know.
15 years, we were a product company, and we've been working on a lot of things kind of behind the scenes on providing a digital offering for our big fans, prosumers, as we call them, the trainers, and also the consumer, which is the individuals at home using, the TRX straps. But we built a lot of cool content. We have what we call a TRX training club, which is our version of, an online kind of content hub where people can activate all the tools that they purchase from TRX and extend their results. No, it's just a lot of really great things. And obviously the industry, starting to get back to normal post-pandemic, gyms are opening. I'm excited about that. That was painful for me to watch kind of from the sidelines, with people that they're friends of mine that were still working in the gyms, not being able to, actually do the work that they're dedicated to. So I'm excited about that. And just one last, big thank you to all the names that I named. And I'm sure I didn't capture everybody, but I mean, I think it's a great industry where it's such a tight knit family that even regardless of what brand you work for, being in fitness, I think everybody has that common goal of how can I help improve people's lives. And then obviously shout out to Fiber and what you guys are doing, and appreciate the time and you guys taking the time to walk me through this podcast. And I'm excited to see all the really cool tools and resources and kind of all in one toolbox that you're going to provide for the fitness industry, because we really need that right now to be able to provide great service to people.
Definitely. Well, we love all the things you're doing at TRX, everything that you're bringing to the table. I'm a big fan. I know all of our users are as well. We're super grateful to have you guys as one of the Fiber partners. So yeah, make sure you check out Fiber. You can see all the education that Nasario is mentioning with those courses, and get your hands on that, as well as some of the incredible products that you guys have. I just yesterday, I got to put this out here. I was using the band. You know the one I'm talking about, the rotational one. That's my favorite. And abs built by TRX. Thank you for that one piece of equipment. Game changer. But always a pleasure. You're an inspiration. Your work ethic is admirable, and just appreciate you taking the time. I know you're busy. You made the balance. You made it happen, for sitting down and sharing these stories and wisdom with us. And I can't wait to see you soon. I know we got some conventions in person this year.
Awesome.
Yay.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed something from today's conversation, let us know by giving this episode a like, chatting in the comments, and sharing it with your friends. We always love to hear from you, so you can send email messages to podcast@fibr.fit and connect with us on Instagram @FitBridge Podcast for even more exclusive content. Special thanks to our friends at Winner Productions for all things audio and post edits. And on behalf of the entire staff here at Fiber, it's been my absolute pleasure helping bridge community to opportunity. Until next time, make sure you click that subscribe button for more episodes, and go download the Fiber app today for all of your health and fitness industry needs.